Do you want to learn how to get healthy, perform at your best, and create body composition changes that last? In this podcast, we're going to talk about all things fitness, nutrition, health, and mindset. You're going to learn how to create real results, and most importantly, how to maintain those results in the long run. I'm Johan.
I'm Kristine,
and you're listening to Talking Nutrition. What's up? Welcome back to Talking Nutrition, episode 13 today. We want to talk about social media breaks. As much as we're both very much involved in social media, I think we both kind of have a bit of a weird relationship with it sometimes, where we kind of get a little bit of this idea where we have to keep posting as a coach, you know. And I mean, let's be honest, like, we do work online, and a lot of stuff that we do, you know, requires social media, or at least, you know, helping people and putting the podcast out. So we're very much using social media all the time. But we also both think it can be a very good idea to take your breaks every now and then. You mentioned you got some questions about that. I've had clients go through this where they are taking a break from it, which is really cool. And a friend of mine actually inspired me to do the same on a recent trip to Spain. So yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about our personal experiences with social media, why we like to take breaks, kind of like why we think our clients can benefit from it, or, you know, you, the listener. And just jump right into it.
So I started taking social media breaks like 2 years ago. I remember specifically, like, my first one, I was in Arizona. It was actually right when the pandemic hit. We were in Arizona, like the first COVID case came out. And I don't know, I posted about it. I remember just feeling like it wasn't serving me, or like, I mean, it's my fault. Like, I overdo it, right? I think it's kind of all of our faults in a sense. Like, it's really no one else's fault. Like, we're choosing what to do and what to consume. But I was like, okay, I'm going to take a break. And it started with, I'm going to take like one day. And then one day was done. I was like, wow, like, I really liked that. I really enjoyed that. So I did 2 days, and then I did 3 days. And this, to some people, might not like feel like a lot, but for someone like us, when we're literally on this app constantly for our work, it is a big deal. Like, we are quite literally posting every single day, whether it's in our stories, on our actual feed. So I took that break, and I was just shocked at how good I felt being off, and the difference I felt in, I was just so much more relaxed. And it wasn't something that I anticipated happening, but when I actually took the break, I was like, wow, like, this is crazy. So, and then from there, I was like, I need to do this more often. And then I didn't. I just was on it. And this past, I would say, 6 months, I've really started taking more breaks and creating more boundaries around it. And something I have incorporated recently is I try and take one day off completely, like every single week, versus doing like 3 days every like 2 months. So I started taking one day off a week, and there's some weeks I still don't do it, but majority of the time I'm doing it. And then recently I started to say, okay, I'm going to like have my phone off by like 6, 7 p.m. Because I'm up early working. So I start working at like 6 a.m. If I'm on it till like 7, I am like losing my mind. My eyeballs hurt. My brain is melting. So I'm trying to like create that boundary with getting off at night. And this is, to me, has been like really helpful with winding down and helping with my sleep and just being more present in the moment, with Eric and when he's home at night. Um, and I feel like I've been feeling better with doing that stuff, but I just think we're so consumed by this thing. And I tell my clients that I don't think they realize just how much it impacts them, because I didn't until I actually got off of it. We don't realize, it's like almost like subconsciously, that these things are impacting us that we're seeing. We don't realize it until we're off of it. Um, whether it's comparing different things, or like you're seeing people do this, should I be doing this? And these filters, like that's something that I talk a lot about as well, right? Like on my Instagram, like comparing ourselves to something that's like unrealistic. And although I think social media can be a really, really great thing. Like, for example, me and Johan would not know each other if it wasn't for social media. I have created so many amazing connections through it. I've helped so many people, but there is like a fine line. And I think that we definitely need to create these boundaries, because it's it's causing a lot of like high anxiety, making things worse, like high anxiety, depression, um, body image issues. Like it is causing a lot of this. This is happening way more, in the last few years than it has in the past. And I think even with like the younger generation, it's really important to create these boundaries. Because of that, it's creating a lot of problems for younger kids, and that's a lot of the time what I think about too. I don't know, I mean, that's because Eric has kids, right? And so like I'm thinking about them. But yeah, I mean, I know that was super long-winded, but I go back and forth with it, of like really liking it and then honestly hating it. I just have this like very much love hate relationship with it, but creating these boundaries and getting off of it has helped me a lot.
Yeah, and I don't think it's long-winded at all. Like, it's good to talk about this stuff because it doesn't happen enough, I think, right?
No, yeah.
I think just as like human beings, I don't think we're supposed to get that dopamine hit like all the time, every day, like
No.
all day, every day. And especially I feel like now with the reels and shit, it's all so quick, and people have like 0 seconds attention span, and all it has to be like boom, boom, boom.
Right.
I don't think that's a good thing. Like, not that I'm like a specialist on on that field, but like, I don't believe that that's a great thing, and we do see that already, right? People are struggling with that, and self-image is already like this thing, like in real life, and now we see influencers, and honestly, I've been unfollowing so many people recently,
Yeah.
but because of that reason, right? And it's not even like that I don't like the person or whatever, but I don't know. Sometimes I notice like, hey, I'm kind of like a little bothered with the way they do things, or the stuff they post, or whatever, or I don't necessarily like the way they kind of put themselves out there because of the way it could influence other people. But hey, anyway.
Yeah, and on that too, like there has been different like chapters or like seasons of my life where I have unfollowed people and I have refollowed them in a different season of my life, because they're bringing something of value into my life at that time. And like you said, it's not that they're doing something wrong in that other season. It's like it's just not aligning with me right now.
Yeah.
And like I have like a business mentor who I followed a long time ago. Then I just stopped following her. And then in this season of my life, I follow her, and now I'm doing a ton of her stuff. I'm listening to like her podcast. I'm doing her certifications, and she's really bringing a ton of value to my life right now. But back then I was like, I mean, I'm not going to follow this person. They're not really doing much for me. And I think that's totally okay to do. It's almost like we think that we can't unfollow people. Like we think that they're our friends, or we're like going to hurt their feelings. And that's just not correct.
No, it's
right?
not
It's
correct.
the internet.
Yeah.
We don't actually really know these people.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a really good point. I think too, like you are the one who decides what shows up on your feed for the most part,
Mhm.
right? Like now there's all these suggested posts and stuff, which is super annoying. But for the most part, you decide what shows up on your feed, which is kind of cool because now you get to decide, if you're going to look at stuff that actually serves you or maybe it doesn't.
Right.
And most people I unfollowed is just because I get distracted. Like
Yeah.
like I caught myself yesterday when I was doing some studying. My brain is like all over the place sometimes, even when I'm like trying to focus. I'm watching like a video
Same.
of the course that
Same.
we're both doing, by the way. Like I'm watching this thing and I catch myself like grabbing a guitar pick off the
Same.
table
Yeah.
and a little
Yeah.
piece of paper and blah blah blah. And I've only now, like, I've been really focusing on this. I'm really working on this myself. In the morning, I try not to use my phone. Because before you know it, you're scrolling. It just happens. Walk to the
Yep.
toilet, you walk to the kitchen, you grab your phone, you start scrolling. It's like this habit. You're like, you don't even realize.
Well, the days that
Um,
I take off social media, like I'll remove Instagram from my homepage,
okay, yeah.
right? And I still open my phone and I like go
It's a
and I
habit.
try and go to it. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is a serious
It's a
problem.
problem. Yeah, no, it is. It's a big problem.
Yeah.
Let me see what I have in my notes here. So let me see. Let me actually talk about that focusing thing because this is just something that I've struggled with a lot, and social media is the biggest one by far. And that is sometimes your brain goes somewhere, you kind of think, and you're like, oh, let me actually look something up. Before you know it, it's like 20 minutes, and you've just been scrolling, even though you were trying to just read that one post, or watch
Right.
that one video or something. And now I'm actually doing pretty good since like last week, honestly. So it's very recent. But I downloaded this app that Casey actually
Mm-hmm.
recommended, Forest, where you put a timer and when you click focus or you start working, it starts to grow a plant or a tree, and then when you close the app, the tree dies. And that's actually, as silly as it sounds, it's been huge for me. Like I've been using
I'm
this
gonna
all day
try
today.
that.
It's super good. I'll send it to you. You can
Okay.
also add friends, by the way, so you can see who's actually focusing more.
Oh,
But
accountability.
yeah, there you go. No, honestly, I love it. Like for me, again, it sounds really silly. Like you click the timer, which tree you want to plant, or whatever, and then you click work or study, and then just the timer goes down. You can select different sounds. I just unlock like a beach sound.
That's
But it really
awesome.
helps, and you can do 25 minutes, 45, whatever. But that's been one way for me to be more present in work, but also with my
Yeah.
girlfriend. Like a couple nights
Mm-hmm.
ago, I put that thing on 2 hours, and I didn't use my phone at all. And for me, like that's super rare.
Yeah.
So back to my points, like you're right. It is great. We get to connect, and like you said, we wouldn't know each other. This podcast wouldn't be a thing, really. You
Yeah.
know, and honestly, just to kind of thank you, if we wouldn't have met, because you are like one of the two people who actually motivated me to actually start talking into a camera, you and Sam Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Without that, I might have not been doing that at all. So
I have to
social media
say
has been great.
that's been some of the best growth I've seen too. Like watching you from like day one to now, it's like night and day difference. It's been so cool to watch.
It's night and day.
Yeah.
So thank you. I don't think I've ever thanked you for that, but it's super cool. But back to the social media thing, especially when I started out as a coach, I didn't really get the support I expected, I guess, from certain people in my environment, just in general, right? When you start something new, it is hard. It's scary,
Yeah.
and I wasn't a coach before that. Well, actually, I was at CrossFit, but anyway, not nutrition. And then online, I started making friends. I met you, I got in touch with Sam Miller, and now been working with Cody and people like Aaron and so many other people. Like, social media is super fucking cool. And I've been using Instagram since literally the first week they came out.
Yeah, me too.
and I love it, and it's super cool. And I've been using it a lot. But okay, back to my notes. Using it a lot kind of turned from, just posting random shit to now for work. We're creating content. We want to help people. That's why we do this stuff. We don't have to put like free posts and stuff online all the time and newsletters and all that. But we do that because we want to help people. But it does come with this expectation almost like, and I know for a fact that every coach goes through this, every online coach. We've both been part of different groups and you see this all the time. People don't know what to post. That's a big one. That's one that I've struggled with a lot too. You don't know what to post. You don't know what you want to talk about or how, or if people are going to like it. And you start doubting yourself, And then I would kind of like stress about not knowing what to post about. So then I wouldn't post, and then I would start stressing for not posting.
Same.
And
you wrote that in our notes, and I was like, this.
But it goes like that, right? And before you know it, it's like, oh fuck! Like I'm now 5 days further. I haven't posted. Now I'm definitely stressed, and I really don't know what to say.
Yeah, you get more stressed as the day goes on, looking at like the days it's been since you've posted. You're like, dang it, I need to post something.
And I really I go through like I last month I posted. This lasted only 2 weeks, but I posted 3 times a day for a little while, which is something I want to keep. Not always do, but do every now and then because it does help. But it's a lot.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It's a lot.
Especially when you're doing like podcasts and you have client check-ins and you're doing newsletters and like it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. But I've been getting more efficient with that, just kind of like repurposing stuff and
Yeah. I was talking to my mentee yesterday and I'm like, it is very, very normal that you go in waves with creativity, right? And I mean, I know like I will be like super creative and have all these ideas, what to post and whatnot. And I'm like on a roll, and then boom, like I'm just not feeling it at all. And this is me. So with how Instagram is right now. So I have 120,000 followers or like 119. I don't know. And my engagement is like, I have like 1,000 and it's frustrating because I'm like trying to get this out to people and I don't know why this is happening. So lately I've just been like, just really leaning into quality over quantity and not stressing about how often I am posting. And when something comes to me and it just comes to me, I post about it versus like trying to come up with it and like forcing it. And I've just been leaning into that and it's been a lot less stressful for me. And I have actually polled on this before on Instagram about, would you rather see someone post every single day or like once in a while quality posts? And I've got DMs and people saying like quality, quality, quality. And in my opinion, and I don't know if you feel this way, when I see someone posting every day, the what's the word? Like I almost stop reading their stuff. There's a word for that. It becomes like less and less, I don't know, interesting to me. I don't know the word. I can't come up with it right now, but that's me. It's the same with newsletters. So if someone is sending me a newsletter, and I know you might disagree with this, but like if someone is sending me a newsletter every day, I'm not reading it. If someone is sending me a newsletter once or twice a week, I'm like, okay, like I'm going to read it. I don't know. That's me. So I've been trying to just lean into that. And I experiment with social media too. So this is kind of like an experiment for me. Like if I'm posting once a week, how is my engagement on that? Or like trying to post different types of stuff. How do people like this? So I'm just leaning into like this experimental place of social media and really trying to just focus on quality over quantity.
I like that. I do agree with it. But here's the thing too, and here's why I do still think, and here's like why I think posting every day, or at least that's what I am doing, or why I'm doing it, is still a good thing. Because you are right, but that is if you see that person every single day show up. Right. And as you mentioned, reach and all that stuff is down, and engagement, which sure it kind of sucks, but I think still if we stay consistent, the people that actually pay attention, they'll still get the most out of it. But okay,
Yeah, I agree.
you are
with
right.
that.
But I think when people don't see your stuff and you do post every day, there's a bigger chance of them at least seeing one of those posts, you know.
Right.
And I do agree
That's
with you
true.
with the newsletter stuff. I do 3 times a week. Usually it's a bit of a, it's got like a shorter one on Monday where we send out the podcast, you know,
Hmm.
and then on Wednesdays I write about a topic, and then Friday, depending on kind of how things go, I'll share an article, a YouTube video, combination, whatever it might be. But I'm always helping people. I literally sometimes I'll put in my email to people. I literally put there like, please do unsubscribe, like if you don't want to get these emails.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Please do so, and I'll do this
Well,
every
it's
quarter.
kind of like the Instagram thing. Like maybe it's just not what you want to see right now.
And that's fine,
right?
You know, and that's okay. But okay, this is more like the producer side of social media, which unfortunately like is still a big part of what we are doing or supposed to do. You know, I don't think that online coaching is possible without the social media. Maybe not necessarily like a big presence, but having like a page, right, where you can connect with people, etc. Like
quite literally impossible. Yeah,
I've met people who want to become online coaches, who are kind of like just becoming online coaches, and they don't want to do that part, and that's okay. That's fine. And if you work in person, especially, that's cool, or locally. But it is part of it, and it's 2022. Like that's not going to go away.
Mm-mm.
But as a consumer, I get distracted a lot, right? And I first got introduced to Instagram, like I said, like the very first week, and I've been using social media so much, like before that even. So definitely for all of my adult life, but also before that as a kid, like I did grow up without social media and technology for part of my life, for which I'm super grateful. I know we're the same age, so you too. But like since I started using social media in my early teens, I guess, it's been just nonstop, really, different platforms and shit, but
Mm-hmm.
And then my first break, which was really cool, just a total weird experience in the beginning, was when I went to Nepal a couple of years ago, where I didn't have any internet for the most part. Like there was like a couple days, like halfway, but like for 4 weeks, I pretty much didn't have any internet, which is super cool. I went trekking in the Himalayas, and I did 2-week treks. So I was in the mountains. It was great, but you still get this feeling where you're like, you think you're missing something, right? And there's all this stuff going on, and your friends and your family, and you want to share this and that, whatever. And then I remember there was a plane crash at the airport where I flew, which is, I believe, the most dangerous airport in the world. So I had to get online and tell my parents, like, yo, I'm fine, Like that's like the one thing I had to do. And I checked real quick, and it was like, I didn't miss shit, So I was like, okay, cool. Another couple of weeks. And it was so good. Like no social media, no pressure to, and this is before coaching, but no pressure to like share stuff or check things and likes, all this stuff. I was just way more present, Yeah. And then of course I got back and, started using it just as much again.
See, I don't get the FOMO.
No, but I do feel like a lot of people go through that, right?
Yeah, not
at
me.
least in the beginning. Like, okay, that's good at least.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, no, I do feel like that's one thing that might lead to a lot of people thinking like, oh, I gotta check.
For sure.
And if anything, like I for sure, I don't know about you probably too, because you have more followers. There's the trolls and the people who leave negative comments, and like you kind of don't want to have that stuff on there. You kind of want to see if it's there or not, or delete it or whatever. I don't know.
So on that, there's an option where you can actually click off people who aren't following you, their comments. So I did that recently. And again, this was something that I noticed. So I did that recently because I like never get negative comments from my actual followers.
That's good.
Like never, which is awesome. Shout out to you amazing people. But I clicked it off, and like it was like my engagement went. This is what I noticed. I don't know if it's real or not. Who knows? And my engagement like went way down. And then I posted and I clicked it off where people could engage. And all of a sudden that one post like blew up. And I was like, what? And I scrolled back recently. I scrolled back. Give it that I'm in a different season of my life. Okay. So like I'm going to get married, and I'm a nutrition coach, and I'm not constantly posting, me working out like I used to. I wasn't in this like process, right? So people love following someone who's like on a journey, and I was on a journey to the CrossFit Games, right? And so I look back on my engagement in like when I was living in Salt Lake City, and it is insane. Okay. Like I was getting like 200, 300 comments on my posts. I was getting like 10,000 likes, thousands of saves and shares, like on like nothing really, like something that I didn't think would bring that much value to people. But I was blowing up in this time. And then now it's like, I'm not joking. It's literally less than a quarter of that. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, different phases of your life, people are just like, they're not going to follow along.
Yeah. I do think that's something that everyone is seeing, but you're right. Like, it really just depends, I guess, what people want to see, what they want to follow. And sometimes I put up a post, I'm like, this is not something I expected to do well. And then
I know. It's funny how that works.
And that being said, I recently had a break, right, in Spain. And I did this. I was like, I'm not going to post. I'm going to take a break from social media. I'm going to do my client emails and a few others. I was helping people with macros and stuff. But I'm just going to do a couple of emails in the morning, and I'm just going to be present and have my vacation. And it was much better. And since that, like this is a couple of weeks ago only, since that moment, I've really been working on this. And it's been good for me. It's for me mentally and just my productivity and mentally, like, or just mentally already. But just for being present, like it is a game changer. And I'd really, for me personally right now, I got to focus on the business. I got to focus on my clients. I got to focus on writing, putting out content, doing this with you. Realistically, I don't have that much time to scroll like on Instagram. Right. It's just a waste of my time, at least right now, and I really value that time. So I'm going to keep this up. But funny thing, so when we were in Spain, there was one moment halfway where I checked. I was just curious, I opened Instagram and I had a video that kind of went, well, I wouldn't say viral, but like it kind of blew up, for my standards, it blew up with a few nasty comments, but okay. And I'm just curious, like, let me check, like, let me watch these accounts, like what kind of people like are liking these videos, and does it really matter? Because if I check now in my analytics, like it says I reached 20,000 people, of which 18,000 are non-followers. So they're really pushing it out to like people who are not following you, and that,
right,
that might be the reason why that post that you put up after turning that function off might have blown up. But
that
I don't
makes
know.
Sense. Yeah,
that could be the thing, because I do know they're trying to push it towards where people who don't follow you might also see your stuff. But okay,
right.
And And then I check all these pages and accounts, and it's like people from like India and stuff, and like not that that matters, but but like it's not really um, the area I'm working, right? Or where I have a lot of like engagement in general, and you start to see like mostly just random accounts commenting and liking,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, like sure, it's cool, like everyone likes to get like a good response to their videos or getting a lot of likes or whatever on something that you put time and effort in. But then I realized like this shit doesn't really matter, it really doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
I'm gonna still keep showing up for the people who actually pay attention,
Right.
but I don't care about the likes, or
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
followers. And I'm busy enough. I'd like to have a bigger following if I can help more people. But realistically, like those likes and stuff, like it's nothing. It's air,
And that's a good thing. That, I mean, that's something I talk about with my mentees. It's something I've talked about on my social media. Like, you do not need to have a massive following in order to be successful. So like coaches who are listening to this, like I know people who have like had like 1,000 followers and make 6 figures. It's
Yeah.
all about the quality of your posting, the value you're bringing, relatability, vulnerability, all of that kind of stuff's really important. So I think focusing less on trying to get followers, and more on like the quality of your content is the best way to go.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And you get those sneaky followers where all of a sudden, like because sometimes I reach out to people, I like to stay in touch with people and say, hey, what's up? Is there something I can help you with? And then you start the conversation, and they're like, oh yeah, I've been following your stuff in the newsletter, and I really like this and this and this. And I'm like, okay, cool. I've never seen you like
Oh
anything or
yeah,
comment or
people are
whatever.
watching. People
But
are
they're
watching.
watching, they're paying
Mm-hmm.
attention, and those people, like that's why I'm doing this, right? Like it's
Well,
the people
yeah.
who pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we keep doing what we're doing,
Yeah,
posting free content
and
and doing the podcast, etc.
yeah, and that's important because there's people that I've taken on my nutrition clients, and they were like, "Yeah, I've been following you for a year," and it's like, see, like, and I'm trying to get that through to my mentees that okay, maybe it's not happening right now, but if you stay consistent, you are going to see this pay off
Yeah,
down the road because these people, I do the same thing where I will watch someone and I'll, just continue to watch them and follow them. And then eventually, like 6 months to a year, I will probably, reach out to them if I feel like it's the right fit.
yeah,
Um, like that's how I choose my mentors, right?
yeah,
Like I follow them for a long time. And so that's part of the game.
yeah, for sure. Now let's take this back from like the content creator side to our clients and
Mhm.
people who are consuming social media. Why do we think our clients can benefit from taking breaks from time to time, or at least using it a little bit less often?
So a few things I have written down are kind of things I've already touched on. I think it kind of just goes across the board for most people.
Mm-hmm.
Less comparing, right? So if you're in your own journey, or say you are in a reverse diet or something like that, and you're following a bunch of people who are like in a fat loss phase, or like they're talking about this and they're talking about that, and you're not in that phase, or that's something that like isn't conducive to what you're doing, unfollow them, right? If you're taking breaks or you're trying to create boundaries, you're going to feel way better following people that align with what you're currently doing in that season of life. Like I have said that I do myself, right? Um, being more in the present moment. And I think this goes into what else I said here was less distraction when eating. Um, so being in the present moment, obviously with family, friends, your kids, so important rather than like being on your phone, like blah, 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 like just not being there. Um, and less distraction when eating. So if we are less distracted, we are more in tune with our hunger and our cues, like our hunger cues. We are less likely to overeat. We are less, or we are more likely to be satisfied with what we're eating. And so that obviously can play directly into your nutritional goals. This can also be into your fitness goals, like your, training and working out, instead of like being on your phone the whole freaking time you're working out, right? You're actually like engaged in your workout. And then better sleep. We know that being on your phone at night, just in general, I mean, it can increase stress, increase anxiety, but at night, that blue light is like absolutely terrible for your sleep. I noticed myself, like I try and get off of it at 6, right? But if I'm on it, like I try to go to bed around like 9:30, 10. Like I go to bed pretty early. If I'm on it at like 8:39, I can tell it's impacting my ability to sleep. And that's a big thing that comes into coaching that I see often, is like, my clients know though, they're like, I was on my phone, I couldn't get to sleep. It's like, well, we should probably not be on our phone, right? So those are like a few things that, my clients benefit from. I mean, that anyone can benefit from like taking breaks, or just like creating more boundaries around it.
Love it. I think those are great points. I think there's definitely something to be said about taking a break more often. Yeah. And it's not going to go away, guys. Like, I do see a bit of a movement where more people, I'd say like from our generation and up, maybe younger, I don't really know, but like where people are moving away from it at least a little bit more often, right? Yeah. Where people say, hey, actually, no, I got rid of Instagram, or, I'll have friends of mine who have Instagram, they just never post. That's cool, Like, yeah. I do see some people kind of like using it less and less and just being present and making that decision of just, hey, you know what? I'm not going to use it anymore. And that's great. I love that.
Yeah, like generally, another thing I'll say too is like, I sometimes do this. I'm creating more boundaries. So like if I'm going out for dinner, I will leave my phone at home. Sometimes. It's something I'm like working on, but going out for dinner with friends or going out for dinner with Eric, again, like just being present in that moment, and not being distracted by your phone. Is it that important? Like, do you have to look at your phone while you're having like an hour dinner with someone? No, we need to be more present and connect with people more. And that phone is taking us away from that.
And I'm so guilty of this.
Yeah.
And I'm really working on this. Like, especially recently, since Spain and the last couple of weeks, I've been really doubling down on using my phone less and social media.
Yeah.
And guess what? I'm more present. I get way more done, and my writing is just way faster and all that stuff.
Quality is probably better.
Focused. What's that?
The quality is probably better because you're so focused.
It has been, honestly. I'm very, very happy with that last article I put up about NEAT.
Mm-hmm.
And I got that done way faster than I usually take for like a more in-depth article. So try it out. I actually to finish off today, I was actually thinking about making a reel or something about this, or some post or whatever, and kind of like bringing it back on Fridays. I call it like put your fucking phone away Friday, where I tell people like, yo, put your phone away. Be more present,
Yeah.
I've been thinking about something. I haven't really figured it out yet, but I might do that soon. But
that's a good idea.
Try that more often, guys. Like, try to remind yourself, and we'll do our best to remind you. We'll try to be more present. Use your phone a little less, unless you're watching our stuff. And then we'll see you next week.
Have a good one.
See you.
Unless you're watching our stuff. That's great.
Thank you for listening. If you want to help us grow the show, please make sure to leave us a 5-star rating or share this episode on your Instagram stories. Now, if at any point you feel like you need more help, you can always reach out to Kristine or myself directly via any of the links in our show notes, because we're here to help. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.